Hello again. Here are some more important keyword abilities in Magic the Gathering. Abilities that come up again and again, so cards don't have to lay out the entire rules text every time. Today we're going to be going over the deciduous keywords. Keywords that aren't in every single set, but still come up often enough that it's important to know what they do. If you're new to the game, sometimes this can be frustrating because the cards don't always spell out exactly what they do. How does protection work again? Let's start off with Landfall. Landfall is an ability that says, whenever a land enters under your control, do this. And it's different for every landfall ability. And important to note, it's not just when you play a land as your land per turn, it's anytime a land enters under your control. So whenever you crack a fetch or play a spell that puts a land on the battlefield under your control, landfall abilities will trigger. Sometimes it's gaining you life, sometimes it's putting counters on things you control. They're all different. You can see landfall abilities in any color, but they're most likely to be in green. Next up is Surveil. You look at the top card of your library and you can either put it back or put it into your graveyard. And if a card instructs you to surveil more than once, like Surveil 2, then you look at that many cards off the top of your library, put any number of them into your graveyard, and then put the rest on top of your library in any order. So this is great for manipulating your library. If you don't like any of the cards that you see, you can just throw them all away. Or if you like them all, you can rearrange them to draw them in whichever order that you prefer. You'll also see scrying. That's just the same thing as surveilling, only they go to the bottom of your library instead of your graveyard. Viscera Seer, I hardly know her. Next up is Prowess. A creature with Prowess gets +1/+1 until end of turn anytime you cast a non-creature spell. And this is only non-creature spells. So if a spell has more than one type, and one of those types is creature, it does not trigger. Prowess also doesn't care how many types are in a spell, it only goes off once per spell. So it doesn't matter if you're casting something that's an enchantment and an artifact, it's just one Prowess trigger. You'll most often see Prowess in red, blue, and sometimes white. The Jeskai colors. Or is it Raugrin? Another ability you'll see from time to time is Flashback. You can cast a spell from your graveyard using its flashback cost, and you still have to obey the timing restrictions, so if it's a sorcery, you can only do it on your turn during one of your main phases, and you pay the flashback cost. Sometimes it costs more, sometimes it costs less, and sometimes it doesn't even cost mana. They're all different. Sometimes it even has a bigger effect when you cast it for its flashback cost. They're really cool. And when you cast a flashback spell, when it resolves or gets countered, whenever it leaves the stack, it gets exiled no matter what happens. You cast it, you get the spell back, and then it gets exiled forever. Next up is cycling. You pay a cost and discard this card to draw a new card. And sometimes this will trigger new abilities, like with Nimble Obstructionist, or you'll be instructed to search for something specific like a basic land. They're great. An important thing to know with cycling is that you can only do it when the card is in your hand. So once you play it, you can't cycle it anymore, it's too late. You have to discard it from your hand. You can activate cycling abilities on any person's turn as long as you have priority, and whichever ability that triggers when you cycle a card can't be countered by normal counterspells, it has to be countered with something like Stifle. Pretty nifty. Next up is Kicker. Kicker is an optional cost that you can pay when you're casting a spell, and there's a linked ability that says, if this spell is kicked, do this. It's like if you're at a burger stand and you're like, hey, do you want fries with that? And you can go, yeah, I do. You pay the kicker cost and you get something extra. And there's also Multikicker, a cost that can be paid more than once, any number of times, and you get that many things. So like with Everflowing Chalice, you can pay the kicker cost as many times as you want and get as many charge counters as you can. Why pay the sticker price when you can pay the kicker price? Up next is Affinity. A spell with Affinity costs less to cast for each permanent that you control of the type for which the spell has affinity. So if you have affinity for artifacts, it costs one less to cast for each artifact you control. And this only reduces the amount of generic mana that you spend to cast it. So for Thoughtcast, for example, it costs 4 and a blue. But if you control 3 artifacts, you'll only have to pay 2 mana to cast it. But if you control 5 artifacts, it doesn't matter, it will still cost the 1 generic blue. And spells can have affinity for different things, most commonly artifacts, but there's also land affinity, equipment affinity, fur affinity, you know. Okay, this one's a doozy, so get ready. Protection is really complicated. If a creature has protection, it can be protection from a certain color, from creatures, or from anything. It doesn't matter. If a creature has protection, it can't be damaged, equipped, enchanted, blocked, or targeted. Remember the acronym DEBT, D-E-B-T. So let's say you have a permanent that has protection from red. If a red spell or a red creature would try to deal damage to it, it can't be damaged. You prevent all of that damage. It can't be blocked by red creatures. If your opponent's trying to cast a red spell, that creature can't be the target of red spells. Ordinarily, you need to be able to target something in order to enchant or equip something. So what if you had just a regular old 1/1 with no abilities, and you have a red enchantment or red equipment attached to it? If you then gave it protection from red, those enchantments or equipments would then fall off. Usually the best way to deal with a creature with protection is just to wipe the board, destroy all creatures, things that don't specifically target or deal damage. You'll usually see protection in white, but it can come in any color. Often, creatures will have protection from colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So black would have protection from white and green, things like that. Next up are finality counters. A creature with a finality counter says, if this creature would enter the graveyard, it gets exiled instead. So anytime that it would die or be destroyed or sacrificed or what have you, it gets exiled instead as a replacement effect. You'll usually see this on effects that bring creatures back from the graveyard or cheat them out from your hand or deck or something like that. And last up, let's go over some obsolete keywords. Keywords that aren't likely to show up on new cards, but still show up on reprinted cards, so they're worth going over. They'll come up often in games like Commander. First up is Shroud. A creature with Shroud can't be the target of any spells or abilities, not even your own. So compare this with Hexproof. Hexproof, you can still target your own stuff, but Shroud says no, nobody can target it. So some people will prefer to play Lightning Greaves because they have equip 0, and some people really prefer to play Swiftfoot Boots because you can still target it after it's equipped. And before it was keyworded, Hexproof was often called Troll Shroud or Super Shroud just because it was annoying that you could still target your own things but your opponents couldn't. There's also Fear. Fear says this creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or black creatures. And you would often see this in black, but not always. Sometimes you would have non-black creatures that knew Fear. Fear was mostly replaced by Intimidate, which is the same thing, but it says this creature can't be blocked by artifact creatures or creatures that share a color with it. So if it's red, then it can't be blocked except by red creatures. And you would see Intimidate in every color, but most likely in black, green, and red. There are other abilities that come up time and time again. What are some that you can think of? Maybe I can make another video on it another time. Just let me know. Hopefully this was informative, and you'll see these keywords come up all the time. Not in every single set, but most of the time. Sometimes it's just 1 or 2%. Just remember, it's not about the magic, it's about keeping surveillance for new keywords.